season. This race, 2 more still to go afterwards as well, so plenty of action to keep you busy over the course of this afternoon. And as we look to the lights on the gantry, Andrew Windmill flashing his lights as he comes up to the start-finish line. I'm guessing he's got sort of a speed limiter set on the car, and lights go out and we're away and racing. Good start from Andrew Windmill, but Tom Mensley looks to be matching him. He's not quite going to be able to get his nose ahead, and Carl Chambers is going nowhere. His hand is aloft on our onboard camera car, and he is having to wait very patiently for all of the field to try and feed their way through and then try and find a little bit of a gap to get the car out of harm's way, but it's all gone wrong for him before he's even got to the first corner. Such a shame. The camera car's curse has struck already.
Oh, that's a shame. We're looking forward to riding on board with the Peugeot as the front of the field comes through Village, and some tyre smoke there in the background. Is that somebody locking up for that tight right-hander perhaps? Off camera, but the rest of the field coming through. The back of the field seems to have got slightly strung out because I think possibly the Peugeot slowing. He's going through Aintree there, and but this isn't right, is it, Mark? He's moving, but it doesn't seem to be going at the pace you would expect. So I think this is going to come round to retire into the pit lane. What a shame. Yeah,
real shame. Yeah, Bob Hosier is already sneaking through at the well of the Seat Leon, and there's no defence put up at all by Carl Chambers, who's doing the sensible thing, using all of his experience to stay out of the way of people, and particularly on a busy grid when you're so far up the grid and the car fails you at the start, and you've got cars going to drivers right, cars going to drivers left, and you hardly have any momentum to get your speed increased. He did the sensible thing now, indicated immediately, got his hand aloft, and was very easily passed by everybody. So for the lead of the race, it's Andrew Windmill that leads, but now it's Dan Ludlow that is there in second place at the wheel of that newer Honda Civic there in second place. Tom Mensley sits there in third, and it looks like it's the Vauxhall Astra of Adam Brown that's there in fourth place at the moment. It is, yeah, so Keith is there in fifth position at the wheel of the Sussex Road and Race Prepared Mini, and just behind them is going to be the next of the little Clios, which is going to be Rob Jarman's number 3 car that sits there. Now, is Dan Ludlow going to go for the lead of the race? He draws up towards the coattails of Andrew Windmill. Can't quite sell by, though.
Going through Stowe Corner, and the later shape Honda battling for that lead, but being challenged by the first of the Clios, and into the left at Club Corner, and it's the Tom Mensley Clio that's snapping at the heels of that current Honda Civic version, and then the rest of the field coming through the little Abarth there as they come up the International Straight, and still leading is Andrew Windmill, and Adam Brown leading the second group. There's a very slight gap between third and fourth, but Adam Brown heading the second group of cars as they come up to Village. Tom Mensley battling hard there for that second place with the much larger bodied Honda, the little Renault Clio, trying to tuck tight in through the loop and out into Aintree and onto the Wellington Straight.
Yeah, the normally aspirated Clio, I think, just losing out in terms of puff to the turbocharged Honda that sits there in second place. So first and second place are both leading their individual races in reality. So Andrew Windmill, the overall race leader, leads the Co-ordSport Tinton section of the race, as into the pit lane does come Carl Chambers. So he's made it back round, and door opens both driver side and passenger side as pit crew chat to him. He's indicating as to what the problem is. I think they're going to lift the bonnet up and have a feel around under the bonnet to see exactly what the problem is and try and get him sorted. But of course, any opportunity to try and get any result in this race is long gone, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and in fact he's undone his belts. I thought he was going to stay in the car there, but I think he's decided that he needs to be out helping to see if he can get the car going again, as the leaders come up to Beckett's through the left-hander at Maggots now, and still it's Andrew Windmill leads from the Civic Type R in second place, car number 70, which was started by Dan Ludlow. And the third place Clio just dropping off a little bit now, Tom Mensley in third. Then it's the very well driven, much older car, the Astra of young Adam Brown, and challenge on Adam Brown from the Mini number 81 of Keith Issat, just behind as they come into Stowe Corner.
So Cole Chambers
we're away
back in
again.
the race again. Yeah, Cole Chambers, is he going back in the race? No, he's had a go at it. I think he was all excited that he was going to get going, and as he's trundled his way part of the way down pit lane, I think there might be a further problem or a repetition of the same problem with the Peugeot. Yeah, so mechanics going back round to the bonnet to lift the bonnet back up again, so they thought they got it sorted, clearly not. Now it is a good fight that's going on for 4th and 5th at the moment between Adam Brown and the Vauxhall Astra, and Keith is at the wheel of the Mini. As over the start finish line comes the race leaders, so leading the Co-ordSports Tin Tops is our overall race leader. Leading the Motorsport School Turbo Tin Tops is the car that's in 2nd place, Dan Ludlow. Then it's Tom Mensley from Adam Brown, Keith is at Rob Jarman completes the top 6 at the moment. Manoj Patel is there in 7th place at the wheel of the Honda. Phil Briggs in his Leon is 8th. Then it's Dave Hutchins in the number 49 Honda that's 9th. And completing the top 10 at the moment is car number 42, which is the older Integra, the DC2 that we've got in the hands of Jonathan D.
And we're back on board in the Peugeot of Carl Chambers, which clearly he thinks it, hopefully it's fixed now. He's just keeping out of the way of cars that are coming through on their racing laps, but hopefully Carl Chambers' car will now be fixed. As we look at some of the battles going on, 3 Pumas there battling for position, coming up the international pit straight.
And that was for the lead of the class, I think that was. So I think that was for 41st, 42nd and 43rd overall, the Pumas were squabbling. And to the lead of the Puma class in the early stages gone James Clare at the wheel of the number 10 car, so he's got himself ahead of John Glover. And John Glover was coming under pressure from the next of the cars that sat behind as well, so that could well worth be watching, I think, still.
The number 17 Mini, that's John Wyatt's car. The Mini's another of those cars that took part and still does take part in one-make racing, but equally finds a happy home here with the Classic Sports Car Club.
Yeah, the news finding us with regards to what's wrong with Carl Chambers and the Peugeot could well be something like fuel pump related for Carl Chambers. So that's been the issue, where they've no doubt tried a couple of things and reset the fuel pump, but it's just not done it. So I suspect we'll see that car this time round heading into the pit lane and retirement, where it may well be that Kieran McGinley's able to catch up with what I'm sure will be a very disappointed Carl Chambers. We'll have to wait and see as to whether we can get word from the horse's mouth as such. So 32 minutes of the race still to go, up towards the top part of the circuit, and at the end of the Hanger Straight goes squabble between newer and older Honda Civic, very patriotically liveried Fiat Abarth there as well. John Hammersley going wheel to wheel with the Toyota, actually. That's a number 4 Toyota that is going wheel to wheel with the club chairman, and it looks as though it is just about the Toyota that has grabbed the place. So that's a good little fight that's going on down in 18th position at the moment, and that number 4 Toyota would have been started by Lee Norton, wasn't it, scheduled to start that car?
I think John Hammersley lost a couple of places on that lap, and he's trying to recover them, isn't he? Because he was ahead earlier on in the race, but that very nicely turned out VW Scirocco, another car used in VW racing, and still battling as they go through Abbey. And Lee Norton, as you say, started the Toyota, and that's in 16th place, being chased by John Hammersley, who will hand over to son-in-law Nigel Tong.
Yeah, Nigel, the quicker of the two nowadays. John isn't slow, but I'm sure he'll admit he's not as fast as he once was. John Hammersley still thoroughly enjoys his racing. In when did he start racing? 1972, 73, was it, something like that? Debenhams Ford Escorts, wasn't it? He started him.
Well, we certainly count John Hammersley's racing in decades rather than years these days. It's amazing career he's had in racing.
Well, it's what, 6 decades he's been racing across now, really, because he started in the 70s. We're now in the 20s, aren't we? So if you count the decades up, yeah, it's 6 different decades that he's been racing in. So pit window will be opening in around about 60 seconds time, and then everybody will have to decide as to when they want to dive for the pit lane. Remember, the car that started and leads this race still has got an extra 60 seconds to spend in the pit lane. The car that's second in the race has at the moment an extra 30 seconds to spend in the pit lane, so that could shuffle the order slightly, couldn't it?
Yes, drivers will know who's got what penalties, so they'll be perhaps planning their strategy around that. For example, as you've just said, we know that the car in second place is going to gain 30 seconds at the pit stop, so as long as he can keep within touch, and at the moment it's just over a second between first and second, so if all carries on like this, then the Ludlow-Emmett car is going to go into the lead.
I think the car that this looks really good for at the pit stops is the car that's currently in 6th position, because that's the first car that doesn't have any sort of time penalty, and that's the Rob Jarman number 3 Renault Clio. So that's the yellow car with its lighter green flashes to it. It's only 7 seconds off the lead, but it's got to stop for 30 seconds shorter or 60 seconds shorter than some of the cars ahead of it. So that puts them into a strong position, doesn't it, for part 2 of the race?
It does, absolutely, yes. They've obviously got the pace to stay with the leaders, if not right on their tail, but certainly once those pit stop penalties come in. So there's our leader going through the loop, the 888 car, the Leggera Honda Civic of Andrew Windmill, going down onto the Wellington Straight. One of the smart cars. Surprisingly quick, those little smarts.
They are. Well, the Brabber spec cars are really, really quick, aren't they? So that's David Nash's car that our race leader is going to come up against. He's still got Dan Ludlow within a second and a half of him though. So the 2 lighter blue Hondas, the older shape one, the normally aspirated one, still continuing to lead the race. The Dan Ludlow car, number 70 in 2nd place, still the leader of the Motorsport School Turbo Tin Top section of the race. Tom Mensley falling slightly more adrift now in 3rd position at the wheel of the Renault Clio, the 2 times winner from last time out when we were at Anglesey. So a flash of the light for our race leader Andrew Windmill to forewarn David Nash that he is bearing down. The 2-litre Honda Civic sides past the little 1-litre turbocharged smart car, and David Nash, you know, he's used to driving these little smart cars. He knows they're not the quickest things. They're great fun to drive, but does the sensible thing, stays well and truly out of the way. So with the race continuing, the pit window is open. We'll have a few more cars diving for the pit lane, but I'm hoping Kieran McGinley can bring us some news from down in the pit lane in a short while, because out on track we've got another blown engine. That looks like smoke that is pouring from Lee Channing's Honda Civic that has, I think, had an issue, and he has pulled the car off. That looks like, Alistair, is that the approach towards Brooklands?
It is, yes. The approach down at the end of the Wellington Straight, I think, yes, in front of the BRDT grandstand.
Yep, so that's where that car has come to grief. But Kieran McGinley has an update from the pit lane.
Yes, I'm here with Carl Chambers in the pit lane here with the Co-ordSport Peugeot. Carl, you've had some issues in qualifying with the fuel pump especially. Was it the same thing that happened again here?
Yeah, we had the lambda sensor blowout in qualifying and fuel pump relay. We thought we'd finished and fixed it, but the fuel pump is still a problem. As soon as you come on boost, it keeps alarming low fuel pressure. So we had to pull it, really. Couldn't go on like that.
And you did attempt to try and get it back out, get it back started again?
Do a full reset and check all the connections, but no, as soon as you get it on boost, it just cuts out completely, so no way you can carry on like that.
That's such a shame, but thank you for talking to us, Carl.
Thank you, no problems.
Thanks to Kieran McGinley just getting us an update. It's a shame for Carl Chambers with those problems, and whilst they were talking, into the pits has gone the car that was leading the race from the lights out. That's Andrew Windmill, so in for his mandatory stop early on in the window. Still 7 minutes remaining in the window, so that puts into the lead the number 70 Honda Civic of Dan Ludlow, who will be coming in to hand over to Stuart Emmett in the next 5 or so minutes, coming down the Wellington Straight into Brooklands. And then we also see in shot the 3rd placed car, which is the Renault Clio of Tom Mensley. Shot now of a very, very busy pit lane, Mark.
Yeah, Phil Briggs is in. Into the pit lane comes Steve Papworth. Charlie Newton-Darby is into the pit lane as well. We've got a puncture, is that?
Yes.
Or is that debris on the number 150 Volkswagen coming in, which is David Cox. It looked initially as though that was part of the wheel that was shredded, but it looked blue, which would be very unusual. A bit of plastic maybe. We've also got the number 30 Honda Integra heading back out onto track. Who's leading Puma Cup at the moment? Well, in 40th position, car number 144 leads the Puma Cup at the moment, and that is going to be Gary Jones that leads it at this stage, I think, from John Glover, car number 196 in second, who's only a few seconds behind him, and third in Puma Cup I think will be the number 10 car. I think that's the way the Puma Cup works at the moment, and the leading Mazda, just to try and pick up on that very quickly, I think is in 45th position, car number 775, I think.
So lots of cars deciding to make their pit stops quite early in the window, but the next lap round we'll see. Here's the car we saw with that strange something flappy. It looks like it's a bit of plastic
On the tyre.
tape or something, isn't it? Yeah, on the tyre, which ideally you want to take off, but nobody seems to be doing anything about that. Anyway, it's
It's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper that's stuck on the wall tyre.
Blue roll, isn't it? Yeah. It's probably trying to soak up any liquids on the tyre. So that's in the pit lane. And the Puma's coming down the Wellington Straight. That's the leading Mazda. I think they're the 775 car, leading car in our Mazda subclass.
Yeah, you've got to go a long way down to find the leading Mazda. It looked like it.
Yes, it is the 43rd position, that Mazda, but it is still leading its class. In comes young Adam Brown in the works liveried Astra.
Car that we've regularly seen John Hammersley racing over the years with Adam Brown in more recent years, but Andrew Windmill, race leader, back out, but of course he has pitted now, so Andrew Windmill from the lead of the race will drop outside of the top 10 because there are still cars ahead of him that haven't pitted as yet. It should ultimately work itself back through, but do remember he had to stop for an extra 60 seconds compared to some, and that is a problem. That's Nigel Ainge by the look of things that's got a problem. Is that a puncture possibly, or something not quite right with the right hand side of the car? Difficult to tell, but Nigel Ainge at the wheel of the Hillwood Autos, the man from Tamworth, limping that car back round. No, all four tyres fully inflated, but problems with the Integra DC5.
Yeah, it's making his way into the pit lane. So difficult to see what might be the problem there. It doesn't seem to be anything visually of an issue. And here's the leader through Beckett's, and it is still the number 70 car yet to come into the pits, Dan Ludlow, coming down through Chapel. So it may well be that we'll see the 70 car into the pit lane on this lap with 23 minutes remaining. There's only around 3 minutes to go in the window, and it's a 2-minute lap. So, sorry, 8 minutes remaining. Sorry, yes, of course, 8 minutes remaining in the window. So there's time, but he may well choose to come in this time around about halfway through the race. But still leading at this stage, Dan Ludlow from Tom Mensley in the Renault Clio, and we know that Adam Brown is in the pits, but was in third place when he came in.
Yeah, so that put Keith Izzat up into third position. It'll put Rob Jarman in the number 3 Renault Clio up into fourth place. Manoj Patel at the wheel of the 112 Honda up into fifth place, and it should put Jonathan D at the wheel of the Integra DC2, that's the number 42 car, up a position. Locked brakes, the Proton Persona of Richard Jason Field runs really, really wide. In fact, that's Richard Field that's now taken over that car, because it was in the pits a few laps ago. So that car just runs really wide, outbrakes itself heading in towards the Vale. Another car which harks back to a very brief period of one-make racing. We had the Proton Persona Cup, didn't we, for a few years back in the early part of the 1990s, I'm guessing?
Yeah, that's going back a way. Yes. A car largely based on the Mitsubishi, I think. Certainly in rallying they were running badged as Proton. And good battle going on here. Is that looks like John Hammersley coming up the international pit straight, and hand out of the window, so that's indicating that next time around I shall be in to hand over, and that will be to Nigel Tong.
Yeah, I think that's a sensible thing to do, because John seems to be caught up with traffic that has already pitted. So the Volkswagen Scirocco is running in 7th place. Phil Briggs in the Seat Leon is running way down through the order because he has pitted, and then Phil Briggs is also squabbling away with 2 other cars just up the road from him, which includes David Cox's Volkswagen Golf, which has pitted, and just ahead of them is going to be Steve Papworth in the Eric Bolton Honda Civic, which is also pitted as well. So sensible thing, isn't it? Catch the traffic. If it starts to hold you up, get in, get your pit stop done, and hopefully you'll come back out into some clear space. And I think that's the call from the team, from John Hammersley, to give way to Nigel Tong this time through.
That battle between the Honda of the head of the group there, ahead of the Volkswagen Golf, as we see that the
Tom Mensley's come in, but because he was quicker going into pit lane entry, of course it looks like he's taken the lead of the race. No, Dan Ludlow stays out there, number 70 car in the lead of the race. Is he going to pit this time? So he's just coming out of the Vale, just coming out of Stowe rather, and in towards the Vale.
Yes, he does.
And yes, he does. Yeah. So race leader comes in. Car that was up to second in the race, the number 18 Renault Clio, is also in the pit lane. So starting to see a few more pit now. If we don't see car number 112 pit this time through, which is Manoj Patel, he would pick up the lead of the race.
And John Hammersley still involved in that little cloud of gnats going around the circuit, battling with each other, which isn't really what he wants, but he's coming out onto the hangar straight now. So we'll almost certainly see him peel right into the pit lane at the end of the Vale. And down the hangar straight they come. Good battle going on here, albeit a lap down on John Hammersley because they've done their pit stops. As they come through Stowe Corner. And there's Tom Mensley coming out of the pits, Mark.
Tom Mensley coming out of the pits, into the pit lane comes Robert Jarman and Jonathan Hunter's car. Also heading out of pit lane goes car number 666, which is one of the Renaults we've got, Stephen Berry's car. He's driving solo, so he will continue behind the wheel of that car as it heads out into the pit lane. We've also got Toby Harris and Lisa Selby with their Ford Fiesta in the pit lane as well. So into the pits does come John Hammersley at the end of that lap. As expected, he will vacate what is 5th position at the wheel of the number 84 Volkswagen Scirocco. So into the pit lane he comes, which means that picking up the lead of the race now will be car number 112, Manoj Patel, will be leading the race. And up to second in the race now will come the number 42 Honda Integra DC5 of Jonathan D will now be running second in the race, but neither of those cars have pitted just as yet.
So we're expecting them in within the next lap or so, and that will start then to sort out the order. But with these multiple pit stop success penalties, we are going to see some significant changes in the order. And it'll be interesting to see whether, I think it was the Jarman and Hunter Clio you spotted as being a likely beneficiary of all of that. And they've come in second place into the pit lane, but they are currently completing their mandatory pit stop. And all the while they're stationary, of course. Other cars are catching them up out on circuit, and so it unwinds when they come back out onto track.
Yeah, so it'll take another lap. Even once we've cycled through all of the pit stops, you know, the pit stop window is still open for another 3 minutes, and then it takes at least another lap after that for the order to shuffle its way through correctly. So it will be a while before we'll be able to give you the full rundown of the order. But I do think that number 3 Renault Clio is going to be in a good position when it is taken over by Jonathan Hunter for part 2 of the race. Up towards Stowe comes the number 888 Andrew Windmill driven Honda Civic. Look in his mirrors, who's right behind him? And it's Adam Brown. Adam Brown looks in his mirrors, who's right behind him? It's Manoj Patel. So those are 3 cars that are all towards the sharp end of the field, albeit Manoj Patel hasn't pitted. The other cars he's circulating with have pitted, and surely the number 112 Honda Civic is going to have to dive into the pit lane before too much longer, because we've only got 17 and a bit minutes to go. Yeah, Manoj Patel does indeed vacate the lead of the race. The number 112 car heads in towards the pit lane, and I don't think he'll be the only one, because we've got a Mazda RX-8 that's slowing down out on circuit there as well, Alistair, have we not? Heading up towards Stowe Corner, one of the cars I think slowing.
197, I think that is. That's the Jonathan Harbour Mazda RX-8. In strife there, coming through Stowe, so that'll be into the pit lane on this lap. And meantime, we'll start to see the timing screen unscramble itself with Patel into the pits. Also going in is the Honda Integra car number 42, which is Jonathan and Tom D. Started by Jonathan, handing over to Tom therefore. Then we'll start to see how close the battle is between the number 70 car, the Honda Civic, now being driven by Stuart Emmett, having taken over the car from Dan Ludlow.
One other car I spotted hadn't pitted, has just come into the pit lane as well. That's Richard Bethel, who was up to 8th place at the wheel of car number 318, the all-blue Renault Clio. Not bad considering he started 32nd of the 61 cars on the grid. So, yeah, he is, I think, one of the last to start his pit stop. So he was in the pit lane with about 1 minute and 5 seconds before the pit window closed. So time to perfection. He had to do it at the end of that lap. If it had done another lap, the window would be closed next time through. So we'll wait and see as to what the order looks like when they head over the start-finish line next time through. Remember, Dan Ludlow, who was briefly leading the race at the wheel of the number 70 car, has now handed over to Stuart Emmett for part 2 of the race. Andrew Windmill, who is leading overall, remains behind the wheel of the car. But in reality, that car of Andrew Windmill will have to stop for an extra 30 seconds relative to Dan Ludlow giving way to Stuart Emmett. And remember, the car that I picked out stops for 30 seconds less compared to everybody, which was Robert Jarman giving way to Jonathan Hunter. That is in the pit lane. That is Tom D taking over from John D. So the slightly older Integra DC2 heads out onto the track. They had a good run, did they not, Alistair? Working their way up through the order. Started 18th, pitted as late as they could. They almost got into the lead before they pitted.
Yes. Now, it'd be interesting to see where they come out. As you say, a good run for John D in the early part of the race. And we've got a close battle we're expecting to see for the lead. And Will, your tip for the top, be involved in that battle?
I don't think it will, you know. I think it's been a very, very slow stop for them, because it should have been about 4.5 minutes in the pit lane area for the number 3 Renault Clio. It was 5 minutes and 10 seconds, so a slow pit stop has undone a lot of the hard work they were looking to do. So, yeah, it's not quite happened for them in the end. It could play into the hands of Manoj Patel, though, because that's another car towards the sharp end of the grid that didn't have a time penalty. So Manoj, at the wheel of number 112 Honda Civic, was one of the latter ones to pit, but was the first in terms of qualifying pace that didn't have a penalty, other than that number 3 Renault Clio, which, as I say, had a slow pit stop.
And we know there was a change of driver for the number 42 Integra of John and Tom D. Tom D took over. We don't know whether Tom is a little bit quicker than John. We'll wait and see as the times come in, and will they be able to challenge Manoj Patel for the lead as it stands at the moment. Nigel Tong there in the Scirocco, taken over from John Hammersley. A little bit delayed perhaps by those squabbling cars, as we've got a Fiesta spinning, and that's in the middle of Beckett's, I think, is it? Yes,
it is, yeah. Slap bang in the middle of the Beckett's complex. Yeah, that was the number 41 car that had the spin and the rotation. Has gathered it up, it's pointing back round in the right direction, so Michael Peters can continue on his merry way. So up towards the breaking out the top of the hangar straight goes the number 70 car of what was Dan Ludlow, now in the hands of Stuart Emmett. Now, I think, is this car going to be leading? Has it managed to? Yes, it is going to be leading, I think, as it heads down in towards the braking area for the Vale and then Club. Or is it? No, Manoj Patel has gone over the start-finish line ahead of it. So, yeah, Manoj Patel is going to now be leading the race at the wheel of car number 112. Up to second comes the number 49 Honda Civic of Tom Hutchins. And third now is the number 70 Stuart Ludlow driven Honda Civic at this stage. Fourth is number 888 Andrew Windmill, the pole sitter, who flashes his lights again as he heads over the start-finish line. Fifth is going to be Tom D at the wheel of the Honda Integra DC2. And then Adam Brown will complete the top 6 at the wheel of the Vauxhall Astra VXR. So leading car in Co-ordSport's tin tops is the race leader overall, Manoj Patel. Leading car in the Motorsport School Turbo tin tops is still the number 70 Honda Civic, albeit it's now in third overall.
And the lap times achieved in the race for the two cars that were leading, the two Honda Civics, that of 888 Andrew Windmill and number 70 Dan Ludlow Stuart Emmett, are very, very similar, to within a couple of hundredths of a second. So they are very evenly matched indeed.
The leading Puma, by the way, at the moment is car number 144, which is the all-black Puma of Gary Jones. He leads the Puma Cup at the moment, the Mr. Tyre Puma Cup, and has about a 10-second advantage between himself and the yellow Puma, which is car number 196 of Chris Fontana. So that's the leader of the Puma Cup, down in 37th position, car number 144. And the leader of the Mazdas at the moment is still number 775, as it was before the pit stops, was it not? It is still Simon Evans that leads the RX-8 charge.
And on screen, we've got our current leader of the race, Manoj Patel, in car number 112, the Honda Civic, coming down the hangar straight. And we haven't yet seen in the background of our shot where the second placed car is. On our timing screens it's showing as a nearly 20-second gap, which would explain why we can't see it in the back of the shot. But Manoj Patel has a very, very good lead indeed, Mark.
Yeah, has a very comfortable lead. Yeah, 20 seconds for Manoj Patel. Now, did the number 49 car also have a time penalty? Dave Hutchins give away to Tom? No, it didn't. So, yeah, he's got a comfortable lead. He must have opened up that gap between himself and the number 49 car before the pit stop window. But yeah, just goes to show the difference it makes, because the first of the cars that is out on track that has had to stop for an additional time penalty is there in third place. So yeah, into the pit lane, that is the number 81 car, I'm afraid, and that is the Mini Clubman that's had problems. That's Keith Izzard. So that was the car that had qualified on pole in the Turbo Tin Tops, lost the lead of that aspect of the race earlier on, but I'm afraid now the Sussex Road and Race prepared machine in the pit lane and going nowhere.
And looking at our leading 4 cars, the fastest of all 4 is Andrew Windmill, who's in 4th place, closing the gap, but he's some 26 seconds down on the leader. Actually the other 3, Patel, the Hutchins car and the Ludlow Emmett car, now driven by Stuart Emmett, were all pretty even on their lap time on that one, so the gap first to second remains at around 19 seconds.
Yeah, but for, I think, Andrew Windmill, I think, will very quickly pick off the number 70 Honda Civic of Stuart Emmett, because last time through he had 5 seconds a lap quicker than Stuart Emmett, and now only 1.5 seconds behind him. So I think that will be a change for order probably by the end of this lap, unless Stuart Emmett gets the hurry up and is able to find something. It might have been a bit of traffic in there as well that maybe slowed Stuart Emmett, can't tell from what we're seeing. A spin down at the Vale, we've had a few of those, haven't we? That was Lee Craddock that's now got the number 75 on the Civic pointing in the right direction and will continue. He's circulating way down through the order, outside of the top 30, 40 cars at the moment, but he's still involved in some good little battles all the way down through the order. Again, I've said it a few times, there are still squabbles and scores to be settled. But for Manoj Patel, he is looking good potentially with 8.5 minutes to go and a 19-second lead to scoop up what I think would be his first ever Co-ordSport Tin Tops win.
Well, if Andrew Windmill can get past Stuart Emmett, then he's got a good chance of catching the Hutchins Civic as well, and maybe get himself back up to second place. But with a 19-second gap, it's unlikely he's going to have time in the last 8 minutes or so to close on the leader much. He may well close, but not enough perhaps to challenge for the lead. Nigel Tong in the Scirocco coming through our picture at Copse Corner.
That car is now in the Scirocco, is in 12th position actually, not that far up the road from Phil Briggs at the wheel of the Seat Leon. Keith Izzard in the pit lane, I think about to rejoin the track, but all of the time lost, I'm afraid, for the number 81 Mini Clubman as it heads back out onto the circuit.
Unusual car that to be racing, a Clubman. Another spin. Is that a repeat? No, it's another spin for the same car at the same corner, I think.
It looked like an action replay. It was so remarkably close, yeah. So, yeah, I think it was exactly the same car. Was it number 41? Wasn't it Michael Peters that had the problem? And has managed to absolutely repeat what he did earlier on. Nigel Tong diving through and passing one of the Abarths, being followed through by Phil Briggs as they continue to fight over 12th and 13th places. That's going to be 4th and 5th of the Turbo Tin Tops cars, I think that will be, for the Motorsport school-backed Turbo Tin Tops, but they're working their way past the Mazda RX-8s at the moment. For Manoj Patel, though, needs to keep pressing on. I said Andrew Windmill I thought would get past Stuart Emmett and move up to 3rd. Well, he did. The number 888 Honda Civic, now up to 3rd overall. He's still the fastest man on the track, and now he's gone faster than anybody has gone in the race so far. New fastest lap of the race to the charging number 888 car. Even with the overtake, 2 minutes 26.574 is quicker than anybody's gone in the race.
So he's really charging on in this closing stages of the race with just under 6.5 minutes remaining. Manoj Patel still leads in car number 112, but second place is the Honda Civic, similar car, of car number 49, which is the Dave and Tom Hutchins car, which is being closed down now by the Honda Civic of Andrew Windmill. gap last time through was around 4 seconds. And that's for second and third places. And then the Stuart Emmett Honda Civic, which early on was battling for the lead, in 4th place. Oh, another problem that's Stowe Corner, I think, is it?
No, it's the Village in the Loop.
Village in the Loop, yes. That's car number 234, which is James Wilson's Peugeot 206 GTI, having a quick spin at the exit of Village.
That's the one good thing about Silverstone, is that you can have the spin and still get away with it because you've got that run-off tarmac between the edge of the circuit and the gravel trap. I think I just briefly saw now a squabble between a couple of Pumas just heading through shot as well, which might give us an indication as to what's going on at the sharp end of the Puma category. I think they've gone down onto the straight now. Puma category being led. Let's just have a quick look where the Pumas are at the moment. And no, that wouldn't have been for the lead of the Pumas. That would have been for second and third in the Pumas, I think, have got themselves together. Yeah, here they come, up towards what is Stowe Corner. And that is a change for position, actually, because the number 10 car is ahead. They weren't at the beginning of the lap. So also Chris Fantana has been passed on that lap by the number 10 Ford Puma of James Clare, who, as a result of that, moves up to second in the Puma category now, the number 10 car.
And on screen, we've got the leader of the Mazda RX-8 category as well, which has been there since the start of the race. 775 down in 30-something position.
Yes, Simon Evans and 38th. You're right, Alistair, yeah.
Simon Evans driving solo. And damage to the front of the Proton looks to have either hit another car, perhaps just caught somebody else, or more likely from the amount of damage, I think that might have been off and hit the barrier somewhere. And a car retired at the side of the track at Stowe Corner. That's is
Alfie Jones, yeah.
36, Alfie Jones.
Yeah, so that's Alfie Jones's car. Nothing obvious from the front three-quarter that we're seeing of it. Is that a mechanical issue, or is there a Proton-sized dent in the side of the car that we can't see?
Possibly, yes. That looked quite a lot of damage at the front of the Proton, though, didn't it?
It did look a lot of damage at the front of the Proton, yeah. Yeah, front bumper hanging off, headlamp missing. So our fantastic marshals going to the aid of Alfie Jones, and as ever they'll make sure they're on the safe side of the car. They'll always be looking whilst they're pushing the car back behind one of the gaps in the barriers, and of course it will be covered by double waved yellow flags whilst all of that is going on. But as a result of our brave marshals doing the work, it saves any course vehicles having to go out, keeps us green flag racing once more with now only 3 minutes to go.
And we need to keep an eye on that lead battle, because we could see that Andrew Windmill was catching Tom Hutchins for that second place. And we've only got, as you say, around 3 minutes to go. It looks like Patel has enough of a gap, and change of place there, and that's Mensley as well, isn't it? So this is 3 cars battling for
4th, 5th and 6th.
4th, 5th and 6th places. Brown is ahead at the moment, Adam Brown in the Astra, followed by Tom Mensley in the Renault Clio, followed by Stuart Emmett in the Honda Civic Type R as they go into the left-hander at Club Corner. And lifting the rear wheel there is Adam Brown, and staying ahead, doing a good job of staying ahead of Tom Mensley and of Stuart Emmett. There's Andrew Windmill. Now, where's he in relation to the Hutchins Civic, we need to know? Is he ahead or is he behind?
Yeah, he's just coming out of Aintree Corner now. Here is Manoj Patel heading in towards Brooklands. So there's our race leader going in towards Brooklands. Number 49 Honda is now behind. So Andrew Windmill is up into second place already. The number 888 Honda Civic has got past the number 49 on that lap. So that now means that Andrew Windmill is up into second place overall, and is going to be, what, about 10 seconds behind Manoj Patel, who has got the lap that he's on, and one more thereafter. Now, Andrew Windmill is lapping, last time through, 6 seconds quicker than Manoj Patel, so it's not done and dusted yet, is it, for
well,
Andrew Windmill?
The gap as they started the lap was around 12 seconds. They've got 2 laps effectively to go from that point. You've just said 6 seconds quicker, that's 12 seconds. We could have a battle over the line on this one.
Yeah, so Andrew Windmill, you could argue, has got his nose to the grindstone, hasn't he, as he looks to try and push on and see whether he can close this little deficit that exists. So car number 112, Manoj Patel, just threading his way through Maggots and Beckett's, out of the race, I'm afraid to say. We have also lost now car number 234, was that not, which was James Wilson's car that had the spin you spotted, the Peugeot, so maybe there was a mechanical issue that caused it. But Manoj Patel up towards the braking area for Stowe Corner. He would like to slow up a little bit so that he has to do just this lap and no more, but there isn't enough time. He's got to keep pushing because he heads out of Stowe and down into the Vale. 45 seconds to go, so one more lap to go, and the amount of daylight between himself and Andrew Windmill will be diminishing all of the time.
It will, yes. We might even catch a quick glimpse of Andrew Windmill in the background as the leader Patel comes out of Club Corner and through onto the pit straight to start the last lap of the race. And the gap between them, will we see second place Andrew Windmill? There he is, coming out of Club Corner, and when he breaks the beam on the timing line, we'll be able to tell you the gap between them, and it is
8 points at 8 seconds.
Oh, so it's actually come down by only
3.5.
Yeah, something like that. So maybe Manoj Patel has got the message from his crew on the pit wall that he needs to just keep going and stay ahead of Andrew Windmill.
Yeah, so I think that is, even for Andrew Windmill, that is a big deficit to try and make up on this last lap of the race, but there will still be, a little bit of traffic for Manoj Patel to deal with. He works his way past Sam Delaney's number 100 Mini as they head up towards the latter stages of the Wellington Straight. So now he's dealt with that, he's got a bit more clear tarmac ahead of him for the next couple of corners, safely through Luffield, and now starting to accelerate his way out of Luffield and up towards Copse Corner. Of course, he'll be flat out through Woodcote, the right-hand kink that brings him onto the old Heritage start-finish line. But for Manoj Patel, he's halfway around the lap. He is heading up towards Copse Corner, and he's got the whole length of the straight between Woodcote and Copse as the lead advantage, which should be enough for him.
And we see Andrew Windmill in the background there coming out of Woodcote as Manoj Patel turns into Copse Corner. And Windmill, of course, has had to deal with some traffic, as has the leader, but seems to have got a clear run through the majority of this lap as they go over the rise. Here comes Windmill into, and then you see the leader there coming through Beckett's and Windmill coming into Beckett's. So that's the gap between them as they go right, left and right again. Now it's the Chapel Curve, the Hanger Straight, and 2 more corners to go for Manoj Patel. Can he hang on to the lead coming down, flat out down the Hanger Straight, the fastest part of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, into Stowe Corner, turns into the right-hander, puts the smart car between him and Andrew Windmill in second place as they come out to go downhill into the Vale, and then it'll be Club Corner and the finish line for Manoj Patel.
Yeah, here he comes through Club Corner for the final time. Manoj Patel is going to accelerate his way up towards the checkered flag, which is being readied for him in the combined Motorsport School Turbo Tin Tops and Co-ordSport Tin Tops race here, supported by the Mr. Tyre Puma Cup. It is Manoj Patel that comes through to claim the win. In second place is Andrew Windmill, who on the last lap of the race sets the fastest lap of the race, a 2 minutes 25.039. That tells you everything that you need to know about how hard Andrew Windmill was pushing. And it was father and son pairing of David and Tom Hutchings, the number 49 Honda Civic, that finishes in third place. We wait to arrive at the fourth place car over the start finish line. It should be the Black Clio that finishes in fourth place in the hands of Tom Mensley. Is he going to hang on to it? Yes, he does, as he appears into shot now. He will finish in fourth place, and fifth place will be the first car home in the Motorsport School Turbo Tin Tops aspect of the race, which is Dan Ludlow, who started the car, and Stuart Emmett, who brought the number 70 Honda Civic towards the checkered flag. Sixth should be the number 42 Honda Integra DC5, which will be a class win for John and Tom D. Here they come now over the start-finish line to finish in sixth place. Seventh place will be the second car home in the Turbo Tin Tops aspect. That's the number 59 car of Andrew Marson, who finishes in seventh place. And despite all of the damage to the front end of the Proton Persona, it didn't slow it down. Jason Field and Richard Field finished in 8th place in the Proton. 9th place will be the third of the Turbo Tin Tops cars home. John Hammersley started the car, Nigel Tong bringing it towards the checkered flag, and completing the top 10 will be the number 5 car of Phil Briggs. Plenty to enjoy in that race. As for the leading Puma home, it was the number 144 Puma that claimed honours in the Puma Trophy in the end, which was Gary Jones. He'd been leading that for a good period of time and finished off the lead lap, but finished in 31st position. And the leading Mazda home is about to take the checkered flag very shortly. Hasn't quite done it as yet, but the number 775 car of Simon Evans should be the leading Mazda home. He'd been leading that quite comfortably throughout the race, Alistair, so just deserts really for all of his hard effort.
Yes, he was well ahead right from the end of the first lap, and a couple of the Pumas, they've been battling the whole of the race,
I think that was second and third of the Pumas.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was second and third of the Pumas they were fighting. And here comes the Mazda over the start-finish line, so that's the Mazda class confirmed as well now.
Oh, great battles all the way through, not least for the lead of the race towards the end there, as the penalty that Andrew Windmill got for his success earlier in the season was able to be almost caught back.
Almost overcome. So to confirm the results then, the Honda's really dominating. Manoj Patel claiming the win. I think that's his first win in the Co-ordSports tin tops, from Andrew Windmill in second place, and father and son pairing of the Hutchins there in third place. Tom Mensley in the Renault was fourth, ahead of the leading car home in the Motorsport School Turbo tin tops aspect of the race. Dan Ludlow and Stuart Emmett, they were fifth. John and Tom D were there in sixth place. Seventh place went the way of Andrew Marson. Eighth place was Richard and Richard Jasonfield, and ninth place completed the podium for the Turbo tin tops at least was Nigel Tong and John Hammersley. Phil Briggs completed the top 10. In 11th position, it was the number 17 BMW that finished in 11th position, John Wyatt. Steve Papworth was 12th place. The Toyota of Norton and Place finished in 13th place, ahead of the Renault Clio of Ridgeons and Reynolds, who were there in 14th place. Chris Earls was 15th. Toby Harris and Lisa Selby was 17th, ahead of David Cox, Charlie Newton-Darby, and then car number 101 Johnson there in 19th place, and Rob Austin and Andy Godfrey completed the top 20. As we head outside of the top 20, you could see all of the rest of the squabbles that were going on, including those cars then, of course, that did not finish on the lead lap of the race from 30th outwards. And then just to pick up on the leading Puma home, 31st place was the leading Puma home. Car number 144, as we mentioned, was Gary Jones. And the leading Mazda home, car number 775, was Simon Evans. So fantastic stuff again from the combined Motorsport School Turbo tin tops, the Co-ordSport tin tops, the Mr. Tyre Motorsport Puma Cup, and the Mazda RX-8 trophy. We'll get some reaction from down there in the pit lane very shortly. Alistair and I also need to liaise on who we think could be a driver of the day just in the Co-ordSports Turbo tin tops. So we can see the cars heading down there into the pit lane area. Andrew Windmill will be really pleased to overcome what he had to overcome, the 60-second penalty to finish in second place overall. And Alistair pushing to the end, setting the fastest lap on the lap that he took the checkered flag. Yes,
absolutely, yes, really trying hard. In fact, right the way through the race, he was trying extremely hard.
So let's go down there and grab some reaction. We've got drivers with Kieran McGinley.
Well, yes, we are here now with the winner of the Co-ord tin tops. It's hugely emotional. Manoj Patel, his first ever race win. Manoj, just sum that up for us. Your first race win.
The little road car that could. Do you know what? I keep saying there's so many people that have helped me to get here. One hand is right there. And this is all for them. Everyone believed in me. I just came here for a good time, to have fun and to enjoy myself. And you know what? This is just amazing. This just kind of goes to show. I just want to tell them that all the time they've given me, it was worth it. We did it. Damn it, man. I don't really know what to say. Thanks to Tom Gannon for building an absolute weapon. The guy has looked after me for the past 12 years, pushed me on, given me everything I needed, the weapon I needed to get here, to race and to get home. And Danny Kazar right there, all the hours of tuition and phone calls, picking away, believing that I would get here when I didn't. So yeah, this is big, man.
Well, Manoj, I won't keep you any longer. Go celebrate with everybody else. Thank you so much for talking to us. We'll now head over now to our winner in the Motorsport School Turbo tin tops, which was the number 70, the shared car of Dan Ludlow and Stuart Emmett. I believe you're our class winner for the Motorsport Schools Turbo.
Thanks very much. Yeah. Difficult race there that I made a complete hash of. I spun twice through the section out of Cops. I think it was into maggots, and I think the second time pulled the front bumper off. But I just kept going as fast as I can, chasing the times, and I pushed it twice too fast. So I slowed down a bit and learnt again. But it was good fun out there. We done well. Yeah, the car was going well.
And some of this front bumper damage we're seeing down here, is that much of an effect for your how the car was working for you?
No, it was fine beforehand, and I think the second spin through the complex, I think I clipped a curb and it pulled it off. So when I started going, I could feel the steering heavy and just kept going, and now I see what I've done. So sorry team if you're watching again. So
Coming out of your paycheck then, is it?
I think it will, but yeah, it'll be another hard week in the garage, but yeah, it was fun while it lasted.
Well, congratulations on your victory. Go and celebrate with your team. Thank you so much for talking to us. And I think we've just got enough time to talk to our Mr. Tyre Motorsport Puma Cup winner, Gary Jones in the 144. Gary, talk to us. How are you feeling after that one?
Oh, drained at the moment. That was tough. I mean, great fun. Really pleased whenever I see a marshal point with flag at me. I think I've done something wrong. So to find out I've won the Puma Cup is great. Feel fantastic. Thank you. Yeah.
And talk to us about it out there, because obviously keeping the lead, making sure you keep the lead as well. I mean, how are you feeling right now that's all come off after 40 minutes?
I'd say really great. I think that the guys behind me, John and Jamie, were giving me a bit of pressure and just before the pit stop. And I'm not great when I could see them behind, so I thought I'd pit early and then, you know, get a bit of clean air and then just concentrate on my race, and I could just keep it going. Thankfully, that I didn't run out of fuel because I was a bit worried about that. But yeah, kept it on the tarmac, so really pleased.
Well, congratulations, Gary. I'll leave you to celebrate, and we'll leave you alone now. And with that, it's back to the commentary team.